Okay, now that we've got our player character and buttons to move them around, too far, buttons to move them around, the next thing we're going to do is add a map for them to move around in. So there's a few ways to do that, but I am going to show my favorite way, which was inspired by Derek Yu and Spelunky. Derek Yu wrote a really good book about Spelunky, just called Spelunky for Boss Fight Books, where he talks about how he made the maps in text chunks. And in those chunks, each map was really just a bunch of characters, ones and zeros, that each represented a different kind of land. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I've added a couple new rows. To label a section called a map, and then we're going to use this input field here because it is monospace to enter our map. So we know that our screen for right now is 24 wide by 14 down, so that's what I'm going to do. Let's see, 24, yeah, something like that. Let's add one more just to be safe. So in this case, ones are going to be the walls, and then Alt return to add a new line, 1, and then zeros are going to be empty space that the player can move around in. There we go. You can see now why we need monospace. It's because as I add different characters, I still want everything to line up properly. So this will let me see kind of what the map is going to look like in its final form. So I'll go ahead and copy that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that feels like enough, and we'll add a bunch of walls at the bottom. There we go. Okay, and we can toss some ones in here and there for tiny little obstacles. Why not? Awesome. Okay. So now we have a map that is just very basic 1 and 0 text. You can add more characters later on. I'll show you how to do that. For now, I'm going to stick with 1s and 0s. We're going to name that range map, make it easier to refer to later on. And we're also going to define some tiles. This will be what actually appears for the player based on what number we've written. So we'll start with 0 and 1. 0 we'll leave blank. 1, let's go ahead and fill in, I think there's like a black square emoji. Feels like a good wall. You can also put like a picture in here if you want. You could put text, you could do whatever you want. And let's name that range as well. Select that, add a range, we'll call this map tiles. There we go. Okay, so now we are going to go back to our screen. And if you remember from the last video when we added the player character, what we do in the screen is we check if the X and Y match the player, and if they do, we draw the player sprite, and if they don't, we draw nothing. So now we're going to replace nothing. And to do that, we're going to use VLOOKUP and regex, which I know are probably some of the more intimidating functions, but they're really useful here, and I'm going to include a copy of this spreadsheet in the video description when I post it. So if this doesn't make sense immediately, copy the spreadsheet and take a look at this for a while because it's really, really handy. So what we're going to do is we're going to say VLOOKUP, and I'm going to look up a value, which we'll get to in a second, but we're going to look it up in map tiles, and I want the second index from whatever I find. So we'll do that part first. That's the easy bit. The more difficult bit is to figure out what we're looking up. We need to use regex extract. Regex extract lets us pull text, a specific bit of text from a string. In this case, that string is going to be our map, and it lets us do that using regular expressions. Regular expressions I really love because they're ways of extracting language. I feel like they get kind of a bad rap because the abstraction gets a little hairy sometimes, but we're going to try and keep it pretty simple here, so hopefully this goes okay. What we're going to do is we're saying we're extracting from the map, and we're going to extract based on the X and Y values on the screen. So we're going to start with the Y, and we're going to do a non-capturing group, and we're going to say I want as many characters as possible, and then a line return. So I want the whole row but I don't want to capture it. I want to skip over it. And I want to do that as many times, using the squiggly bracket here, as many times as the y value on the left. So to do that, we're going to add a quote and an ampersand, and we're going to click the y value on the left, add a $sign so that stays in that left-hand column as we copy this out to our other tiles, ampersand, quote, close the squiggly bracket. So now as we go down, each of these is going to look for the row in the text that matches their y value. And then we're going to say I want a number of characters, just any character. A dot is any character. And we're going to do for a number of times a squiggly bracket, close the quote, whoops, ampersand, a number of times equal to my x value. So I'm going to click that value here, add the $sign so it stays in that row, ampersand, quote, close the bracket, and then I want whatever character comes after that. So we're putting the last dot there in quotes. So what this is doing is it's looking at the map and it's saying, okay, find the right row for the cell that I'm in, and then find the right column for the cell that I'm in and get that character. Close that out. Now the last trick with this is regex extract will give you, we can even see if I select it, we should see a little preview that says 1. Perfect. Except that is 1 as a string, not 1 as a number. So for VLOOKUP, because these are numbers that I've just typed in and not strings that I've put in quotes, it won't actually find them. So to help them actually find them as numbers, we're going to add 0 to whatever it finds. This is an interesting quirk of Google Sheets. And you can even see the preview. There we go, a little black square. There's a quirk of Google Sheets where certain text functions will only return text, even if the text is just a number like 1 or 0. But if you add something to it, if you do any sort of math formula after that, it will try and turn the text back into a number if it can. So by adding 0, we're saying give us the same value as a number instead of text. All right, so that finishes up the VLOOKUP. We can close that. Boom, we see a nice big black square there. That's perfect. We're gonna copy this all the way across and all the way down. And I'm gonna fix the borders there. Great, cool. So now we see that our map is on the screen along with our player character, and we can add stuff to the map and it will automatically update. See, there's a new little wall. You can add something over here. Let's add it over here so we know it's there. Yep, perfect. And we can add new things. So I'm adding a row above the 1 because that is going to automatically update our named range. If we look over here, we can see, yep, now that's the whole range. So let's see. Let's add 2 more things. Let's add fire, and let's add a tree. Great. So now I can go back in and I can say, all right, I want this to be a 2, so that's fire, and then I want 3 3s. Great. There's the fire, there's the trees. And you can do that for as many tiles as you want to a point. We want to make sure that these stay as single characters. So if you want, you can use numbers up 0 through 9. You can use the alphabet A through Z. You can use emojis if you want, if you really desire. For me personally, and especially because we're doing that math in the function here, I tend to stick with 0 through 9. That tends to be enough for a basic map, at least. All right, so there you go. Now you have a map that your character can see.